So let's talk about AI, and the uses of AI that's going to be good. And we'll find out if it's not far good. And this is a very interesting conversation we're having right now. Um, um, so I mentioned earlier that there's this Wiser initiative that Steve might have introduced that is going to take and look at the expansion of prior auth, try to automate it a little bit more. They're not getting rid of prior authorization, but they're going to look to see how they remove the administrative simplification out of it. Well, lo and behold, this is kind of a surprise to all of us. So we're trying to chase this down right now. Um, there is CMS has announced that they are looking at 17 codes or 17 healthcare services that have a proliferation for fraud, waste, and abuse. They're going to demo it in 6 states in 2026. Anybody want to guess one of the 17 that might be on the list?
ALS, not emergency.
It's going to be non-emergency. So non-emergency ambulance service is listed as one of the 17, but Colorado's not on the list in one of the states, so you're good. It's Arizona, Ohio, Texas. I can't remember which, but there's 6 states right now that we did this. So this is very interesting. This is one part of the Wiser initiative. Is we're going to start understanding what AI can pull out, what it can do. So I'm strongly suggesting if you have not started to dive into AI, that you start looking at it. It is going to revolutionize. To me, this is kind of like the Internet Explorer many years ago. For some of us that our generation now, or our new generation, about Internet Explorer. But I remember when we really didn't have Internet Explorer. I'm about to turn 50, so I am getting a little older. But I remember going to libraries still. I remember before you could actually get on and go to and research all your stuff. Everything was books. We read a lot of books. I'm having a library card. How many people have a library card still? Okay, good. How many still like to read the hardback books? Yeah. How many went and that was a whole surge? You could do the e-readers and Kindles. I remember having all those. I eventually got rid of them all because I like books. I want to feel the paper. I want to feel that. It's kind of the same way that I look at the way that AI is doing. It is revolutionizing the way that we do things. And of course, we're in the new stage, so there's going to be a lot of misnomers, a lot of fear out there. But to me, I would take this from the standpoint of what's the good part of it. There's always people are always going to use technology and tools for that. That's just always inherent with that. I'm going to focus. I can focus on that, or I can focus on how can I actually utilize this for things in healthcare finance. I'm going to take this to you from the lens of how do we use that in our own organizations? What are you doing for that? I'm a technology company. Some of this stuff we've been using in AI for a long time. Um, let me actually show you the second from there. So watch. Uh-oh. Let's stop. Let's see. This. Called AI. How are we gonna do this without it getting feedback?
Oh, can you mute the owl?
Oh, yeah, can we just mute that all?
I bet if you made it,
Yeah, you know, I will. You know, so
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's a big size. Doesn't having to innovate, right? How many are using AI in the room? How many are using it kind of what I call superfluous right now, a little bit, ChatGPT, other things like that? How many are using more advanced type of technologies and within your organization? Playing with it. Playing around with it a little bit. So tell me what you're doing when you say you're playing with it.
Well, the owner of our agency owns other companies and, just from answering phones, we're starting to get into that where, it's basically taking phone calls and then routing them to where they need to be to certain teams, so.
Perfect, that's smart, that's smart, hey, that's smart today, we're gonna talk about it, there's really no downside to it, there's an upside to it. That allows or whatever, you're still gonna get some of that piece, or still patients wanna talk to some type of human voice first, I mean, think about the texting and generating, you log on somebody's site. Some of this stuff has been around, but AI's actually been around for over 75 years. And so a lot of us didn't realize that was going on, but there's artificial intelligence around, it is now open to everybody. And that's why they call it big AI. And so now you have ChatGPT, which ChatGPT is gonna be like a Google to me. Most people when they're saying, are you going there, you're not saying go to the Internet Explorer, you're saying go Google it. Well, Google's the actual part of a company. You've got Safari, you've got, so now you've got Elon Musk with Twitter doing Grok. You know what I'm saying? But ChatGPT kind of cornered that market at the very beginning. And so most people say, I'm gonna go to look at ChatGPT, even though you might go to Grok and look at it, just sounds a little weird. It's the same thing with Google. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but look at what's happening right now with some of the AI, how inconsistent it is. This one right here is really cute. Like literally just happened about a week ago. But the AI overview, somebody said Oreo spelled backwards. And it says Oreo spelled backwards is still Oreo. It is a Flanders. It reads the same way forwards and backwards. Well, look, it doesn't. So these are the type of things that when you are using AI, letting your team members use AI, is it's really going to be very, very important to remember. It's just a tool. It's not an all be all. It's not a replacement. I'm going to kind of go through just a little bit. If you're exploring it, what to do with it, kind of how you should take that strategically through the process. I love this quote by Robert Louis Stevenson, which said, in each of us, there are two natures. That are the good and the evil. We hear about that, about the angel on one shoulder, here's the devil on the other. They also talk about the Indian proverb that talks about the one that can beat the most. It's the one that grows. And so it's the same thing with AI. You can look at the good part of it, but the AI is going to be an evil force as well to pay attention to. What we do see happening even on the federal level with Wiser, we just talked about that. They're going to be utilizing a lot of AI tools to figure out is there savings and things that we can do. That's kind of where my suggestion to EMS and healthcare providers is start using it from, can't I identify certain things? Is there things that I've been manually doing, or maybe I've been taking a longer, maybe Excel, in my opinion, you no longer need to be an expert at Excel anymore. Excel is wonderful now. You can actually be pretty beginner level, use data, and there are so many fabulous AI tools now that can actually take your data, start to put it into where you actually have very robust dashboards. And it's really interesting with all of these companies are going to have to reinvent themselves, Power BI, others, because of the power of the data that's going to be available to you on that. We're even exploring that at our own technology company after 11 years, and it's been hard for some of our programs. And for some of them to understand that everybody did my personality, I'm gonna push it. If you don't have a really good reads just because you're afraid of it, let's move. Let's figure it out. We're gonna go crawl, walk, run through the process, but we're not gonna just not implement something because we're afraid of it. Is there something, can we do this very strategically through the process? As well. First thing, or first point, I'm gonna cover 5 points with you on how you should look at AI. Specifically to the healthcare finance lens, is to remember AI is not a substitute for critical thinking. That is the concern that a lot of us have. Is we're going to lose that element of critical thinking. You still remember what AI stands for, artificial intelligence. And so it's going to scrub whatever's out there that can put into the ethers. It could be bad, could be good, and you have to be able to work through it. My example is saying it's really helped me reading books and regulation. So when OVA came out, the healthcare provision, I could tell some people that were trying to get stuff out pretty quickly that he used AI to summarize it for them. But if you really didn't understand the policy, you didn't know what questions to ask it. You know what I'm saying? And so there was some stuff that came out that was actually not correct. And so I remember when I first did it, I told him, I want you to give me a 2-page summary. This is what I'm going to do. And it came out with stuff. Well, just because I've done policy for so long, I'm like, that doesn't make sense. So then you got to tell AI, give me the exact citation that you're looking at. Now, it went from usually something like that would have taken me about 12, 16 hours to digest, look through it. It now took me about 2 hours to really get to that same result of what I had to get before, but I need to ask it the right questions. That's how you should be using AI. So we should be training our teams to use it. That we still put things critically through the problem. I'm going to let you guys, y'all should scan this QR code. The MIT actually did a study. So they did a very concentrated study by taking an EEG and looking at brain connectivity based upon 3 different um, 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 different cohorts they put together around this. One was really around using your brain only. So meaning the people that have a library groups. You went out and researched, you did the normal things that we would generally have done. You didn't get on the internet and explore. The second cohort actually utilized like Google search engines, things like that that we're used to. And then the third group actually did and used AI. What they found in the EEG piece of it was very, very interesting. They showed people that actually were using AI started to lose their critical thinking ability. And they would see that the pattern of the connectors in the brain were not the same as if you read books. Of course, strongest connector, middle, average would have been us to get on Google and start researching and learning that way. And then the third was AI. And so there's definitely something very interesting as a preliminary. This will the data is going to get more and more refined as we continue to move into this new AI world. But here's my biggest thing: if you're using it specifically in your healthcare finance areas, is kind of where people are looking at it, they're administrative. I'm looking at it as well. Like, is there things that we can do different? I have some individuals, their master of the English language is a little bit different when they send emails. Some people, especially this new Gen Z environment, there sometimes they write the way that they text. And so it's been like sometimes ChatGPT has been wonderful to say, you know what, I want to make a point, but maybe I was a little too clear and rude. Now I can tell ChatGPT to take my information. Can you make this professional? And can you make sure that the end user can understand it, that it doesn't have any back, whatever, and it will write a very wonderful process for you. Okay. We do a lot because I deal with a lot of clients. Sometimes I think that's an appropriate language to that client. But now ChatGPT has helped to make sure that sometimes the way that I think, the way that I wrote may not necessarily be how to interpret. And so ChatGPT allows for certain things like that and other different types of AI programs. You have to go ChatGPT and HIPAA. So there's a lot of other elements to use that are not HIPAA related. So our general counsel does a lot of that. We use a lot of stuff around Excel right now, things like that, things that can help augment because we don't want to lose the critical thinking ability. Okay, I do still shy away from them using ChatGPT and others as a Google search. That's not what ChatGPT was meant for. You should still get out there and research. You should still get out there and understand the regulations, what do they say, what do they do. Now, ChatGPT can condense it for you. I want you to create an executive summary for me of the 3 main points of this 18-page procedure. Does that make sense? But I may still have to have them go back and find out what those things are because that's where you keep that critical thinking ability. It helps you if you're in healthcare finance trying to understand, I need to appeal something. And usually we use boilerplate appeals. Now you don't have to do that anymore. AI has opened up a wonderful world to make it very targeted for each one by being able to use different data sets. Now, because you're using scientific information, there's other things that you need to look at. There's other pieces that we're looking at that are confined. It's end-to-end points or closed, and you can use AI as a layer over that. But a lot of times people are saying, well, I'm concerned about that. Definitely have your attorney involved doing certain things, especially if it relates to HIPAA-related information. Here's a quote that I do like that kind of talking about it. Remember, it's a tool. It's not a decision maker. It's anything else that we use. So if it's AI, I wouldn't be afraid to just remember it's a tool to help you. It's never going to replace humans. We keep hearing that this is gonna replace humans. They were saying that about the Internet Explorer, it's gonna replace humans, it's gonna replace some jobs. Maybe 90% of the job, they might have a different, where two or three different hats, you may not have to hire as many people anymore. But if you're doing like your clinical EMTs, no, it's not gonna require it. Now, it may help them become a little bit more efficient in the way they document and write their medical records reports, absolutely, it's gonna help. And a lot of people are afraid of that. They're nervous about, well, AI generating our medical record. Remember the old days when people used to want to do voice recordings? You can go back to that now. Yeah, the piece that I remember when I started out in the industry, I remember this was, 2004, 2005. There were some systems that I was working with that their medics would just say what they did, and then somebody else was going around dictating it. There are others now that are actually using AI for that. So clinicians can do it. They can just as they're there, they're picked up, they're talking about what they're doing with the process, and goes to the video, AI takes over, and then somebody else is coming to verify the all verification of the bot. So there's a lot of great unique tools that are coming to enhance, make things easier as you do things. Calendars. There's an AI tool that we're using around calendars to understand how people are using. It's amazing what it finds out specifically for our company, whatever we're doing. We have so many people working on different things for different clients, and you may not know the data analyst has been doing this, and then this other position was doing this, other position. Now we can actually look at it and say, for XYZ ambulance service, 17.2 hours this month was utilized by your team on our production. So there's a lot of different things that somebody having to manually can do. AI did it, and there's dashboard, and it happened literally quick as you're working through. So these are things that we have put processes in place that you should begin to start exploring. And these are the ways that there's really no upside. There's really no downside. These are upside stuff. Where some people start getting concerned about the riskiness of things is creating medical records. How's it going to assess and understand to diagnose the patient? Are we using certain things like that? That's still some exploratory work that continues to need to be done. There's some people in the industry doing some really good work that right now. Here's what I will usually say with practical application of this is that education is still critical. Okay, you should test it often. That's your internal stuff, your external stuff. You should be using audits. Trust but verify. Reagan's philosophy. You should trust but verify. I don't care how good AI gets. You should always be trusting and verifying. The other thing, especially if you're dabbling into it, is just like you have a HIPAA privacy officer, you have somebody over your entire thing, it may be you in this room because you're wearing multiple hats. You should also kind of consider, I'm going to have someone that oversights AI as well. Throw it in, have policies and procedures about how AI can be used. Okay, you don't want somebody out there using ChatGPT and they throw in personal information to ChatGPT. You should not do it. People are going to get in trouble for that. So have specific policies and procedures on how you do AI. I'm calling you an AI officer, AI privacy, just to kind of give you a correlate and kind of where that piece is. But these are the kind of things you should be thinking about. So if you've got somebody looking at your HIPAA, things like that, then maybe you have them also oversighting your AI stuff as well. And then I would also have it on a committee. You start implementing it, like if you've got a committee that meets once a month, once every 6 months, that looks at your overall privacy concerns, things like that. You should introduce somebody that's actually handling the AI side of the business. And how you're using it. Also to have to provide, say, you know what, there's a new technology coming, maybe we should explore that as well. It could help with our team members. Now they only help one division. You know, that's kind of how we started. We first started it because I had everybody taking notes. You was on call taking notes. First thing that we did, Fathom AI was the best one. Other people use Otter and everything like that, but we started with Fathom AI, and they no longer have to attend anything anymore. Fathom AI takes it, they write it. It's about 98% accurate now. When it started, it was not really accurate, like 80%, you had to train it, but now it's 98% accurate. So guess what? My executive assistant, she saved like 20 hours a week. She doesn't have to go on all video. These are the type of things that you can do. There's really no downside. And you can try tons of them. Zoom's another one that we use. It's very, very accurate. Now, it wasn't when it started, but it's very, very accurate now. So I use Zoom a lot more than I use some of our other tools. Some of our other people, they like the tools because it videos for them. The Zoom does some of the same things as well. These are different things of the way that you can save time, make sure that there's not multiple people on phone call, that you don't be on phone calls, things like that's practical. Remember, it enhances, AI enhances, but it doesn't replace. And I think that the fear of what you were hearing from people like Elon Musk, that was saying, it's gonna replace, AI is gonna replace everybody's job. Now they're getting into generative AI. The one thing about AI, I don't care how much that they can say with a robot, it needs information in order to make decisions. It has to have information. So generally, it's going to be reading whatever is put out there. So if you put that out there, it's going to start doing so. That's kind of the concerns that a lot of people have had about where is AI really going to take us. But it can't come up with a new idea. The idea is already there. It's just cycling through data and coming up with conclusions. Okay. So that's why I'm saying it should be, if you look at it through a different lens, you'll begin to see, okay, I'm going to look at this from this standpoint. And I'm going to use AI from this particular standpoint as well. I like the analogy of pilots and autopilots and co-pilots, whatever they do. But just remember, when you do use them, when pilots use autopilot, they disengage. They're still there watching, even though they might get whatever. They need to bring it back. And it's the same thing with AI. You should use it as it's something to say, it's something to help. It's there, but I'm always going to be in charge still. And so if I'm using it in the healthcare finance, my admin stuff, literally think about it. If you've got finance stuff, accounting, accounts receivable, these are easy things to implement AI. Really not hardly any downside. You just need to kind of start testing your toe into it. I wouldn't go into AI and say, oh, I'm going to all of a sudden start doing it with my medical records. Sketching is another way to look at AI. You've got a lot of information. You've got habits and things that people have done. You can actually look at trends, get them to get trending data out. This is what's interesting because you've got a lot of companies that have been doing this. They've got to reinvent themselves. Marketing, branding, they're having to reinvent themselves. It's almost like I need to educate you on how to do that versus I used to do it for you. I don't need marketing and branding anymore like Scope and Copywriting or copywriting. I need ChatGPT to do that. So what does a marketing branding company that I use, they've got to reinvent their wheel and say, you know what, I need to kind of start mastering this and maybe start helping you put together different concepts around AI and how you can use AI for you, but I'm going to pay you for a whole different scope. I'm going to do that right now with my own marketing company that we've hired on. Because I don't need you there. Once I hired them to do copyright, they were doing all I don't need you there. And so they've shifted. They've gotten smart. They've got ahead of the game. They know where some of my blind spots are in AI. And so now they're saying, hey, we're going to change the scope of our contract to help you with this. Because this is one area AI can't do. Make sense? So these are the areas that you should be looking at in your different jurisdiction. I'm kind of giving you some ideas that if I'm going to start dabbling in it, where am I going to dabble? I'm generally going to dabble in those administrative functions first. Just going to kind of dive into that. Here are about 6 things that you can do for practical application, specifically from the healthcare finance side. If you're not in that side of it, this is just tuning out right now. But I would first look at and to identify pre-billing documentation conflicts, medical necessity, and can be used for that. There's a lot of great tools right now for that. It can assist you with coding recommendations, but not replace it. So if you're a biller, be very careful about having it replaced. I see a lot of issues around that. And now with AI, with this Wiser initiative, looking for things, be very, very careful. The issue that we had with the Medicare Advantage programs, getting paid this robust amount of money, they were upcoding everything. It really wasn't the plans. They had used a lot into their stuff, and it was cycling through data and it was coding things incorrectly. So just be careful as you work through that. Remember, there's a Wiser initiative as you're working through it. Clean claims analysis, that's the big deal for a lot of people right now. How do they fix that? AI can be used for you from that sources. There's some of this stuff we used to do for our clients. Now I'm just educating them. Guess what? You can do this now. And so let me show you how you can do it, how you can put the processes together. So I've done the same pivot anymore. I didn't want to do reporting to begin with. But the problem was the reporting wasn't there. Now you've got tools that are available to you to do the process. Enhance writing skills without replacing. This is probably the one that most people use right now. You know, when I'm sitting in email, I can see it. I can always tell when somebody has used ChatGPT or some other form. You can always generally tell. I see this bold here and then this, and then you can usually tell. So usually what I tell the team is, if you're going to use ChatGPT, you must personalize it as well. You must use it and then edit. So it should fix 80% of your work. Don't just go into ChatGPT, copy paste it into an email and off it goes. Okay, that's lazy. All right, so you need to enhance, edit. This at least gets you 80% out of the way. That's how you should be training your teams as well, because that's kind of the issue. Data mining and design, big deal. That's going to be a big game changer for everybody. We're going through it right now, and I'm using AI internally right now to just kind of see where some of my landmines might be, so I can advise our clients, like, okay, here's what we've learned. If you do it, be careful about this area, this area, this area, but always use it all this area. Okay, so these are some of the areas that we're going to be looking at as we move. This is definitely an area that we're seeing enhancements on for data. Like literally, you can dump data right out of your system. I don't even have to make it pretty. I just dump it in here, and I tell it certain keywords to do, and it just does everything for me. Presentation. How many people that talk a lot are using it for presentation? I'm not using it yet to my marketing, because there starts to be kind of a piece of it. But like for our internal presentations that we need to do, it's wonderful. It like does it in 10 minutes. It's fantastic. And so there's great apps out there, AI, that can do all that for you. So if you're not really proficient in PowerPoint or Keynote or what have you, you take the content of what you want. Say, I want 8 slides on this, here's the stuff, and it makes 8 slides for you. And it'll do it in 10 minutes max. And then you can tell if you don't like something, you can go through that process as well. But for like internal meetings, you shouldn't be spending, oh, I gotta put together a PowerPoint presentation on this, or I gotta talk to my board about a PowerPoint presentation. Just have your key outline. Show your outlines that AI engine, and that AI engine takes over from there and develops your whole key. So, there is such a thing right now as chatbots. How many log into websites or whatever, and all of a sudden they see, hey, how are you? How can I help you? That's chatbot. Okay, it's going to take information, regurgitate. You're not really taking. I think a lot of us understand that. I will tell you, in healthcare, people still want human interaction. I don't ever see that taking place. Like, I mean, I hear people now saying, "Oh, we're going to have them start helping." I don't ever see that. I mean, you can try to demo it somewhere, but for me personally, if I'm a patient somewhere, I'm not talking to your phone, to your screen. I want to talk to the clinician. Does that make sense? So there are some of these things that I get it. They sound wonderful. People are creating companies that are trying to do something around that. When they call me and ask me, I'm like, I would never. I think that's a waste of money. I don't care if it's not seriously funding. That's $20 million straight that I can't imagine a patient's not going to let it be. That doesn't make sense. Let's talk about it's trained by you. So AI is it. Garbage in, guys, garbage out. How do we say that about data? You put bad data into an EPCR, guess what you get out? Bad data out. Same concept here. So the more that you train your engine, the better it becomes. So I've been using ChatGPT now for about a year, and it's pretty trained. You can talk like me. There's a lot now. You can get all the paid version, whatever. You start training it, and if it says that I talked like that, you did not listen to what I just told you, and you can say, "I'm trying to." You are exactly right. It will start learning. It will start changing. It will start writing to your vernacular. Now, I like to write, so I'll generally write all my stuff first, put it in there, and say, "Clean it up." And then if it says that, that's not my tone. I want you to clean it up based upon my tone. I want it to have a strong message at the end. I want it to do this. And I'm really specific with it. But it's pretty fantastic at how you can train it. But every AI engine can do that with. So this calendar thing that we do, it knows my schedule. But I have to tell it, like I'm coaching it, like I'm training a new employee. So basically, some of our team is being facetious and they're calling them different names. Okay, that's Smith, that's Joe. You know, I'm training Joe right now. But I mean, do whatever makes fun for you, but that's really what you're doing with AI. You're training it to kind of understand who you are, but more as an augmentation to who you are. Let's talk about practically applying that piece of it. Your team still needs to understand the payer specific rules. Okay, so if you're in healthcare finance, you're doing billing. You're never gonna get away from your team not knowing that. They can use ChatGPT to help them with an outline. It can now read procedure manual that used to, they would have to write. They would have to read it, they would download it in the PDF, they would look at it, they would try to summarize things like that. Chat actually, the AI engine tools now allow them to kind of take all that information. We did that, our team went through on a whole spread. Now they used the engine and it actually made it like, oh my God, this is amazing. It cut off 8 hours of our work. Those are the type of things that you should be looking at. Improper training or AI research without human critical thinking abilities is going to create compliance issues. So that's why I think this is the unknowns that we're in right now, folks. You're going to see lawsuits happen. We're going to see, I think that's where people are getting scared and nervous. It's HIPAA information. Can I get sued by a patient? Maybe I put information out there incorrectly. And that is why you should be really smart dabbing your toe into it. You know, what does it look like? I know there's some EPCRs that have engines that are actually within, so there are closed points within. You should use that all day long. And that's actually very helpful to you. I know there are the EPCR meters. To me, this is probably a really big thing for paramedics and EMTs who are constantly having to document, but it's actually going to help them write their narratives, help them find things that maybe the conflict right away. It wasn't something that I now have to call and say, oops, there's a kind of glitch in the system. AI can get rid of some of those glitches. It can help the technology companies so they don't have to constantly program all these things anymore. You can use AI to help you. It's the same way that you can use it in your finance side. People, audited financials that you usually have. You can have unaudited financials by putting certain parameters in place to look at things. That's what I would be using. Trust but verify. Always trust but verify as you're looking at AI. Here's some things that we did find. This was and I'm going to give you this as an example. So this was an AI generated. There was one of my clients that was looking for, they were having an issue with a kind of what we call a certification of medical necessity or a CMN process. Some states do require that, and they had wanted some certain provisions. Well, somebody came and made a recommendation to them, and they sent it to me and said, is this right? Well, immediately the trust but verify came in, and I said, this looks AA. So I told my team, we're going to just do research and look at it. I said, but I can tell that some of the stuff here is not related to a Medicaid program. It looks a lot like Medicare stuff. Okay, and this was Mississippi related. And I'm like, this looks like, I knew in Mississippi that they had more stringent requirements. And so AI, this is what somebody recommended to one of their clients. They just used that AI. But it was about 85% correct. There was about 15% that was incorrect. This is actually, after we fact checked it, what the actual requirement was for that certificate of medical necessity and services. And so we had to come back and tell them, here's what it is, about 85% of what you got from whoever you were talking to. They got part of it right, but I can tell the AI generated it because a lot of it was more specific to Medicare guidelines versus Medicaid guidelines. And this is what's key. This is why you need to make sure information get out there, somebody's fact checking it, they're looking at it, they're going through the process to understand what was that action. This is probably the best statement I can say right now that I think everyone needs to get in that as well. Everybody that I'm starting to talk to about AI, we have so many varying opinions on it. I was in California, and it was so funny on the panel. Everybody had a different opinion. I'm just saying anything that's new and revolutionary, it's here whether you like it. No matter what you feel about it, it's the same thing with the Internet Explorer. The Internet Explorer came, it took a lot of people a while to adopt it. There were some people that were early adopters. There were some people that I'm going to go first and I'm going to follow after you. That generally where 80% of us will be, is we're going to let the early adopters go first, kind of watch through the process. But I'm just saying, you need to start getting comfortable with it. So how do I start getting comfortable? Start using ChatGPT. But how does that make sense for my clinicians? If I'm in healthcare, my EMTs and paramedics, how does that help them? How does AI help them? And that's what you should start looking at it. Can it help them with sketching? Is it something that maybe, because maybe we're going to look through, how can I help them with their documentation? That's taking me a lot of our time. I wouldn't start there. I would just kind of say, can I help them with, 5% of their current workload? There's before you jump right into, oh, if I could do this would save 40% of the time and it would solve my workforce shortage issues. And then something happens, you did something wrong, you get sued, and you shut it down. Cause that's the first thing that usually happens when somebody shuts something down. I got sued, I had a violation, and then you can stop everything. And that's why I'm saying be very practical as you move into AI. I get concerned about some people that are out there saying, just go in and start doing this, doing that, and some of it only meant they want to be first. So they can tell everybody that they're first. And it's not the smartest thing for us to do as an industry as well. So practically, you should be doing it and exploring it. I love that some of you guys are talking about that you're exploring it with your phones. Can you use it in the call routing system? That's smart. That's very like, let's work through that. Let's get those things and then we move to the next thing. And those are the type of things that you should be paying attention into. Can you help it in dispatch? Are there certain things that AI can be helpful in the dispatch process? Sometimes we immediately go to where the majority of our employees are, but we can start finding little things, and this is where you kind of do that crawl walk and start testing it out, start testing it through your process. This is the one thing that I do like, those that ignored the internet were left behind. And they were. The same thing is gonna happen to those who ignore AI. It's gonna replace us. And it's literally gonna replace you just because you decided not to adopt. You were just stuck, I don't wanna do this, what I wanna say. Same thing that we saw, and I'll say it here later, but it was the same thing with the calculators. The calculator did not replace accountants. And so it's the same kind of concept that we have here. A not going to. So crawl that as well. I would literally say just determine that AI can be utilized with 100% accuracy. I'm that type of person. I want to make sure that if I'm using AI, there's no downside to me. Now, there's going to be some time you use AI, it beats you about 80% of the way there, and then you put a process in place for that. But there's a lot of things that you can do right now. Have a committee form. If you're the one testing it, test it. Let somebody else get that instead of kind of validators. I would actually analyze every financial position and job description in your company. That's where I would start. I would look at it and I would say, are there any elements of this job that can be augmented with AI? We've done that with every single one of our employees. If not AI, can machine learn? So not artificial intelligence, can some machine learn actually and integrating actually meet that principle? So there are things that I can automate as well. And then if you're met with resistance, why? Is it just because they're nervous? Then maybe I'll change the way that we talk around it. I would look at every single job description. Our team doesn't know. This is a things they get just bad off. I mean, we looked at every job description from our own team. We have a very robust team, but just kind of figuring out, is there certain things? So that way, as I continue to grow, I may not have to grow with so many FTE resources. Possibly I may be able to say, that job that you're doing here actually can be done by an AI agent. I've been bringing someone in that really understands AI to come in and just see if they can prod me outside of my own thinking and our own team out of that to say, is there some other elements that we're not looking at here that can be done and we can use AI for this? Because it's changing constantly. So what happened 6 months ago is a lot different than today. 6 months from now, we're going to be having a whole different conversation. But that's how you should be looking at your job description as you work through this process. And as you guys know, I'm always going to end on some type of positive note as well. AI is your friend. It is literally not it. We can look at it, to me it's change. So generally when I'm having conversations with people about AI, it's just change. It really comes down to it. So they're going to try to find every single excuse. Well, oh my goodness, but what if it did this? What if it did that? It's just change. It's just change. Anything that we do in life is always going to have its positive. It's always going to have something different. I can focus on the negative side of it, or I can focus on the positive side of it. And I'm choosing to focus on what can get me to, and I can put some principles in place related to that as well. Here's what I was talking to you about as well. The calculator, when it was invented, it didn't replace accountants. It just made it more valuable. They could do their job faster, quicker, easier. How many people can still do, math on a piece of paper? Some of us can. But this newer generation, this Gen Z or whatever, and they lack the skill set to do. It's like, where's my calculator? Let me get it out, start plugging numbers in. You know what I'm saying? That's where we're kind of, but these are things that doesn't make them any less smart. Codes, computer code. It's amazing what AI can do of coding stuff now. Things that we used to take forever to code, It's now so much easier to be programming and coding for that. But I will tell you, our program's like, oh, it can't do it as well. Well, why not? Well, I just there's no way. Well, why not? But it was more because they were just scared. They were thinking in their mind, is it really going to replace me? Because that's what they were hearing. It's not going to replace. Somebody still has to validate the code that's done if it's working. Where are the issues that need? They still need to tweak things, but I don't have to go out and hire another program. Now, does that mean you might need less programmers in the IT space? Possibly. But guess what? AI is going to produce new jobs and new ways to go in and do that. So now you might have to learn different skill sets. So instead of learning COBOL or whatever code you're writing in, then you're going to be learning AI at this point in time. So it's going to require you to go out and do some new learning skill. And that is more about what they were afraid about. So when you unwind it, that is the thing that we have to make sure to unwind is what is doing. It's not replacing, it could just mean we're going to have a whole different skill set, job set. How does that help EMS? It's going to help you identify their pace. Easy. A lot of you have queues and skipping and you're doing all that kind of stuff. This is going to be so easy to understand. It's going to automate your appeals process. A lot of stuff can happen here. It's also going to happen for your financial audit. I'm not using the limited beautiful bill, but that's somebody said, can you help us financially model? Now I can take the data. I'm doing it with one client on the East Coast now, and it's been pretty amazing. Oh my gosh, she's a CPA, she's a CFO, and we started going through it or whatever, just testing the verifying, throwing it in, kind of getting an understanding of what it is, and then she went back and did her automated way that she usually does it to see how I do. And we're within 1 or 2 points. Does that make sense? So we'll say, don't stop doing it, do this, then go here and do it, and then let's burn together. Doing some stuff around regression analysis, follow course. To where like generally you build those in Power BI, you do some things like that, but there's some ways to use AI. Okay? You can actually look at it, whatever, but you don't stop it. You're trying to by saying, do it the way that you know to do it to get to the right answer. Now introduce my AI piece of it, see where the gap is. And then start working the gap. And that is how you will introduce AI very methodically into your organization. But wanting something that for Americans, for God's sake, we're fast, what I call fast food society, we want it now. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to wait 3 minutes for a hamburger in McDonald's. To me, it's too late. You know what I'm saying? If you're in McDonald's. I mean, you know what I'm saying? But if you wait 5 minutes, but my standpoint on that is you need to slow down and kind of just start re-looking and saying, don't get frustrated with AI because it doesn't do fast enough because it takes a while. You need to kind of work it. And then once you get it done, it's amazing the savings that it provides you. Here's that great podcast again that we did, my business partner and I did on the use of AI. We've actually done another one that's going to be coming out in about 2 weeks as well. We're going to be doing a lot of this, just try to say what we're working on, because we learned best by other people doing. And so if there's something that we can share with you around that too, we're talking about some of the ways to introduce AI into your company, what we've been working on, what we've been using, how we've been using it, that I think will be helpful to you guys through the process as well. So I'll stop here and see if you guys have any questions or talk about how you're using AI. Anybody using AI from the medical record side? Okay, are you using it through, who's your vendor?
ESL.
So you're using it through ESF. How's that working for you?
Great.
The crew's lower. So I'm curious with the billers, is there anybody that has services that they're billing with or using that are finding it easier with the charting?
So I will tell you, there are a few billing companies that with ESO, I know there's others that are exploring it. ESO is very methodically and how to introduce AI into their piece that is integrated. I haven't seen any of the results back from them yet on how they're using it from the coding perspective or the return side. That's probably a really good question. It's so new in ESO, but I know they're supposed to be tracking down some of their billing partners on the ESO side.
I did ask Chris if he's seeing, right here.
Yeah.
If he's seeing any of his other clients use that. He's looking into that. We're not having tremendous success with the AI through DSO.
So you're not having tremendous success at all.
No.
What have you seen as some of the issues?
Redundancy in some of the information, inaccuracies between like IV therapy versus IV monitoring. Differences between flow chart and narratives and stuff like that. It's also really lacking telling the story from what we're seeing, and crews are finding it pretty tedious.
Not
to
useful.
Not useful.
Or you use it as under so or can chart.
Hang on, what was your question? Say it loud so you can hear. No question, just ask.
So I was asking if they're using SOAP format or V chart, so we did it both, and we found that the V chart was better overall.
In the soap format, what have you guys used it?
I've seen so far.
So long,
Tried the D chart yet.
interesting. Interesting. What you said you use ESO is software.
We turned it on for a while and had a very similar experience. You didn't find it all that useful?
You didn't find it useful, your crews didn't find it useful.
You guys alter the amount of data that you're putting into the charts, like the click boxes and all of that add to the effectiveness of your report. We're not using it, but I've heard someone else talk about. The more click boxes, the more descriptions you put in those makes a more robust report, and they had success with that. I don't know if you guys changed that.
Right, but the problem we had with it was, it's really just taking the stuff out of the clip box.
And just
making it a
not.
narrative, which to me is not one of the narrative.
No,
That data's already in there. We're not asking them to put it in there again, we want the narrative to say.
It is a very interesting conversation. This is what the PCR vendors are dealing with. Because it's like a redundancy, the narrative is kind of redundancy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I have a question and a thought. My question is this, is anyone using First Watch and their AI resources to scrub their data out of ESO or any of the other products out there to create dashboards? You know, we're not yet either, but we're hoping to soon.
So I'll tell you, Todd's company is doing some really good work. This is where AI can become very useful. And where companies like First Watch are reinventing how can AI be utilized to where they used to have to build stuff, you don't really necessarily have to do it anymore. You can now take it and engage. So these are going to be areas, and I love where Todd and First Watch are doing with this. So to me, that's where I would start first, more than I would start with the narrative, because it almost seems like redundancy, but basically, you're right. And you're right. If you do not click all the buttons in ESO to build it, the narrative will not be complete. We're going to be inconclusive.
So one thing, and I don't know if it's redundant, because I do believe in the billing, they're looking at multiple different things on the trip sheet, right? But one thing we did find out, the more information you put in like your assessment tab and stuff, the better it does come out. So our crews, that's how they've been doing it. And then that actually generates a more robust narrative.
So, and my follow-up question is this, I know Epic and several of the other really high-end EHRs out there have the feature now where you just open your EHR, you open your record while you're engaging with the patient, while you're doing, and even our telehealth partner, the platform that she uses that does the billing and the EHR and everything all in one, it just monitors while we're doing the telehealth visit. And it builds her narrative. Her narratives are actually really impressive because it's monitoring that patient interaction the entire time. Most of our ambulances now have cameras in the back that are monitoring the entire time. How much longer till one of these EHR companies realizes that they can just take that camera data and use it to generate our EHR, or the narrative for us?
They're coming.
It has to be coming soon.
I did an interview with couple of people who were working on developing that. They were asking lots of questions about how it would be useful.
That's where I think
It's coming.
this is the dialogue that is going to be very helpful in, as you were saying, the telehealth visit. Once all of our records start working together, then you will actually get very robust information, and the billing departments will really love it. Versus having to log into Epic or Oracle or Athena or whoever it is to get additional information because maybe the medic's record was incomplete and I needed more information to build upon that. This is where I think we are going. I think we're still a while away. But this is kind of where you're starting, this is why I'm saying dabble in your AI, but I'm not really sure yet, I would start dabbling with it in my ENR related area. I would be looking at different elements outside of what I do, scheduling. There's a lot of people having a lot of very, um, it's helped in like people where, especially large companies that have a higher scheduler, that's really cut down, they're able to do it like 20% of the time. Yeah, so there's things like that that I think is very beneficial, like thinking outside of the normal, where everybody thinks first. How are you changing? And that to me is probably, maybe if I'm not in 2020, maybe I should have looked at the scheduling aspect first, or something in Canada. From an operations standpoint.
So I just want to give one more thought, and that is, the AI stuff excites me because I'm not afraid of it at all. I honestly believe that it's going to be incredible for our industry. One of the areas I'm so disappointed that they went so fast to finish your narrative piece. I get that because that's the sexy thing, but really, to me, they already have patient encounter records, they already have QA/QI data. Why can't they take that, or why aren't they putting a higher priority on taking that QA/QI data and saying, hey, when I see a provider do this, and this on a regular basis, that's going to put them at higher risk for having a quality management issue. And then as that provider's writing it out, they could just give them a gentle nudge from the Simon Sinek world. Hey, did you know providers that do this on a regular basis are 10 times more likely to blah, blah, blah?
Here's what I'll tell you. I can't speak for ESO. I'll just tell you generally when I talked about the crawl, walk, run, is some people are doing different things in that. So I do know there was a lot of discussion around how QA/QI data can be so beneficial to our industry, specifically in this new environment that we have around fraudulent abuse. Is you can pick out pretty quickly. You know what? This is outside the average norm. This keeps happening. This medic has been doing this for the last 3 weeks, and you've been relying on QA product. You got any more? It's an alert that comes out. You can see it quickly as things are typing. Like these are things that are so beneficial. But companies are taking an AI approach, specifically technology. Some they just jumped on in, and they're figure it out as you go. And some are taking a very conservative approach, and it may not be on that same timeline. That may be what's going on. I don't speak for that, but I don't. Technology. Anybody else using that stuff?
I love it for HR issues like employee improvement plans or employee write-ups. If you don't put names in, but just put specifically what the issue is and what you want to get out of it, it comes up with an amazing, employee improvement plan or write-up or whatever. As long as you read through it and make sure it makes sense, but it's amazing.
It shaves all this time again. How many else are using it for that? Or this? Little bit? Little bit.
We said I needed to have a new person, and I wanted to be in between two positions, so I uploaded all job descriptions, asked it to help me write the job description for that job, and then I asked it to do a training matrix for a certain period of time. And I didn't really like the way it all came out, so I asked it to, re-verify it a little bit, asked it to spit out a different one, emphasizing this training prior to that task, and it came up with things.
If you just start treating it like your assistant and your employee, it cuts down on you having to go in there and actually write everything yourself, which may have taken you 4 or 5 hours to put it all together or research it. You shaved off, maybe 30, 45 minutes or an hour to get to where you want. These are good examples. Let's see. I'm most using it now. Let's see here. Or most using it now outside of the EMR setting in ChatGPT, or there are other platforms. Anybody using some other platforms outside of ChatGPT? Claude. So here's what I'll say about Claude AI. We did a big research on Claude AI. It's not HIPAA protected right now, but there's another platform that is. I'm going to you guys some. Claude.ai is pretty fantastic as long as you're not seeing anything that's HIPAA related into it. But Claude AI is a pretty fantastic program. I will tell you this. Hang on.
How do you spell Claude? She's asking online.
Oh, CLAUDE.ai.
That,
Yep.
And there is another. Let me give you a few others if you're interested outside of ChatGPT. These are very easy ones to use. How many use Grammarly? Grammarly? But that would be something to download. You can put it on your text, and you're writing text, things like that. It's going to help you correct that. How many are using Beautiful AI? It's great for presentations. You do presentations. It's great. All of these have free components to them. If you want more robust, of course, they're going to charge you. Oh, here's another one. How many do a lot of speaking? ORAI. Everyone, somebody that want everyone in AI person to give you feedback. You don't have to worry about calling somebody with embarrassing. Download ORAI, record yourself, send it to them, and it'll give you some feedback. You can even be on a Zoom call. Throw that on there, and it will come back and it will tell you, you know what, you said 500 times. You know, it'll give you fantastic feedback. Google Gemini is another one if you want to do like content generation. So think more if you're doing a lot of marketing, branding, things like that. Probably something that you want to use. Here's the one that we do and that we're really using right now. It's called Reclaim AI, and it sits on your calendar and your tasks. And so, for instance, if you've got a lot of your management teams doing, and you want to see how much time you can literally put together a corporate dashboard on it, and it will tell you what is happening. It's not Big Brother. I wouldn't use it as a Big Brother type construct. It's just, is there a better way for me to efficiently use my time? Okay, I'm using it right now to say, you know what, I've got this, whatever, but I'm usually spending only 22 minutes. I'm going to drop this down and do 30-minute calls with this, and then put stuff here, and it will come in, it will give it to you, and it will tell you, we see this, and this, and it will make recommendations to you. It's pretty fantastic.
we can confirm that those are the right spellings.
Oh, reclaim, okay, ORAI, and then you got claim, RTCLAI again. Otter AI is another one. You can stuff like Fathom, and then Otter, like an Otter, OTTR. So if you're looking for someone to take notes for you, a lot of them are free. Many, if you use Zoom, Zoom has its own AI generator. Otter and Fathom just have a lot of different unique. They lump it together. It's really just kind of figure out which one you like. Brainstorm the free versions and try to see what you like. Especially if you're recording, it'll also know the states that you're in. If you're going to record in the state that requires you to have, it will tell you. Get an email, a person get an email, they don't want to be recorded, they will say they don't want to be recorded, and that call won't record. So there's a lot of different nuances like that that's out there. If you are into like data, you want to look at your data visualization. You know, I was talking about some of the stuff that people into Excel. Here's the one that we like the most. It's called Julius. Julius AI. Julius. That's a great thing for data analytics, things like that. Take the free version, start with the free version. Start taking stuff that you would normally do yourself in Excel, and just say, I'm going to take the raw data, put it in here, start coaching and telling it in comparison to what you would do. We had our team working that. It's my whole, I don't even have to hire a new data analyst. I was thinking I was going to need one. I was able to shave off about 20 hours a week with him by just using this program that really sped up things for us.
What was the name of that again?
Julius. Like Julius. Julius.
What's the one that's HIPAA compliant?
Oh, the client got it.
Anyone have policies regarding AI note takers?
Yes. Oh, how?
You know, Google AI will, when in Google Meet, will try to take over your meeting and it will record almost everything that's on the calendar. And you have to be careful because
Just jumps in.
it jumps in and does it. And if you don't really want that to be open to a FOIA request, be careful. Because if you're doing a QA process or something and you have a meeting with your medical directors and that becomes a recorded meeting, then
That's a really good point. You need to have a policy around how you use AI on call. Because it is discoverable.
it's
And so if there's certain calls that you want, do not record it. Okay, do not, and I would have a policy.
And that one is really hard to get rid of. I mean, we changed that thing and it kept inviting itself to the meetings.
Who is this?
Google Meet.
Oh, I hate Google Meet, anything with Google Meet. I would use either Otter or Fathom are the two best, and you literally control everything about it. So Otter, like an otter, OTTER, or Fathom, FATHON. They have phenomenal policies, to where you need to make sure that whoever does the administrative setup, because if you're not careful, anybody that showed up on your meeting gets a meeting note. Okay, so you want to shut that off where it only goes to you, then you forward it to where you want it to go. If you want to activate it, does that make sense? So those are the, and if you put policies and procedures, I'm happy to, you remind me, I'll send you what our policy is on these note taker that we have at our general counsel put together. Because we also don't allow it if you're, even though it's HIPAA protected, like Fathom is HIPAA protected, we still don't allow anything that is our own policy. So basically, if you are discussing anything related to a patient or anything on a thing that we're totally remote, then we do not allow any of our note taking, even though that it does have, we're not comfortable with it.
So I'm sorry, this happened to me. I was on a call with Tim was on, and Tim's note taker was working, and I was the Zoom leader, and I said that was okay. Now it records every meeting that I start. And I did not do that, and Shirley knows, because Shirley's meetings, I come on and it starts recording, and she's like, "Yeah, why are you doing that?" And I'm like, "I am not doing that."
So what you would do in instances like that, where somebody else inserts their thing in, you can move them into the waiting area. Just remove them out of the call together. So if you remind me, I'll show you. You just take them out of the call and you move them into the waiting area.
Sorry. No, you're fine. So one of the other things that we've tried too is the Plod device. Anybody else using the Plod?
What's it? How do you spell that?
PLAUD.
PLAUD. Now what does this one do?
So it's a recorder.
Okay.
Okay. You got an app on your phone. So once you're done recording, then you can summarize it. It's right here. You can put it on the back of your phone. You can do it on phone calls or just open. But what's cool about it is on the app, it'll summarize. It's not as great as ChatGPT, but what I do is I take it out of the Plod device and put it in a transcript and then run it through ChatGPT.
It's amazing.
So that really helps meeting notes for like our officer meetings and anything like that we need to do.
This is where AI is revolutionizing things. There are certain things that is going to be interesting to see the law that they start putting out. Because technically, people should, there are some laws that can't be recorded without people express permission. But yet, people are, like, I know I can't tell everybody, but I'm just going to stick it right here, let it record it, hit my voice memo, and then I touch insert it in it, retranscribe for it. Is what he's talking about. But Plod as another AI tool, several of those around. The one that somebody talking about Plod.ai. Plod.ai is not HIPAA compliant, but they're a little bit powered by it. And it's called Hather, HATHR.ai. Now, this is an area where if you're using it, this is very, very beneficial. A lot of hospitals are starting to enter into using this right now. Physician practices, I literally just became aware of it about 2 weeks ago. So we've just been running the rounding trail, worked out our GC. She had to investigate, she's kind of our guru. She investigated, tell us what we can do, what we can't do, how we use it, and then we'll start testing it. So literally, she just came up with it and kind of sent me everything, and then we'll move to the next step piece, because I wanted to start to apply like this to figure out how we use it, is it HIPAA compliant or not. Plod.ai is not, but one that's powered by them that is HIPAA compliant is called HATHR.ai, and that's 100% of it on your data. It's very private, it's not out there in the Thank you. A lot of good stuff, guys, and as you continue to do it. It's 3 months from now, you have another conversation. There's going to be 500 new AI tools on there. So find somebody and designate somebody in your organization that likes it. Now, what we do is, I have a lot of Gen Zers that work for me, and they love all these technology tools. And so we've given that and assigned it to two of our individuals, they're about like 26, they love it. So they'll find stuff and they submit it and then run it down, because it's changing so rapidly. And if you're like me, I mean, I'm kind of, I like to think that I'm cutting edge, but there's something that's like, if I'll do that right now, who's gonna sit up there and try to figure this stuff out? They're doing some phenomenal tools, right, that kind of stuff as well. Any other questions?